In the intense intensity of summer in the midst of the moving slopes of Boeotia, in 338 BC, history demonstrated the veracity of a conflict that would reverberate over the course of time, the Skirmish of Chaeronea. It was here that the destiny of Greece would be chosen as two extraordinary powers. The Macedonian domain under Lord Philip II and his child Alexander went head-to-head against a collusion of Greek city-states, drove by cheats, and Athens at the top of the Macedonian armed force rode Philip II, an expert strategist and visionary ruler whose desires exceeded all rational limitations. His whole armed force numbered 30,000 infantry and about 2,000 rangers. He directed the Macedon right flank preceding the fight. Philip looked to declare predominance over the Greek promontory by utilizing discretion and obtaining key collusions to grow Macedonian impact and lay out authority over the Greek city-states. At the focal point of Philip's military stood the Macedonian phalanx, an exceptionally focused infantry division, furnished with long lances referred to as sisses. These Macedon phalangites, as they were realized in the Old World, were the foundation of Philip's military, and were critical to his many victories in past and future fights. Philip's 18-year-old child, Sovereign Alexander, instructed the Macedonian left. Alexander was placed responsible for practically the sum of the Macedon cavalry force. And by this age, Alexander was at that point a decent strategist and had fight insight from fights against the Illyrians and Thracians Thebans, contradicting Philip with the glad hoplites of Athens and the savage champions of criminals upheld by other Greek partners. The Athenians bosses of maritime fighting and a vote-based system, and the Thebans popular for their tip-top infantry, each bore the heaviness of their city-states. Pride upon their shoulders, they were driven by the Athenian speaker Demosthenes and the Theban general Pelopidas. They remained as a safeguard against the infringing tide of Macedonian authority, and were not entirely set in stone to end Philip's desires. Here on the fields of Chaeronea, the Greek city-states handled consolidated power of approximately 35,000 infantry, with no cavalry being accounted for. Their development was set up with the Athenians to their left side flank. An alliance of other Greek city-states held the middle, and the Thebans held the right flank. In the midst of the Theban positions was the famous hallowed band of hoodlums. These 300 tip-top champions were handpicked to serve the city of cheats in wartime during their most desperate critical crossroads. As the sun rose, providing reason to feel ambiguous about its light, the field of Chaeronea, the conflict of arms reverberated across the land like thunder moving through the sky. Philip drove his right flank towards the Athenian left. Yet just prior to setting out, Philip had requested Alexander to keep the remainder of the Macedon armed force set up and anticipate briefly of chance to happen prior to driving the remainder of their power into fight. The Athenians locked their safeguards and pointed their lances forward. As they arranged for the approaching conflict, Philip requested forward his pels and bowmen to free shot upon the Athenians to debilitate their positions before he sent forward his weighty. The Macedonian weighty infantry progressed forward, crushing into the Athenian lines with a booming thunder of bronze and iron on the Macedonian left. Alexander, currently driving the remainder of the Macedonian power, requested the middle and passed on flank to gradually progress forward. He needed to keep his dad's right flank from turning out to be too disconnected, and his development kept tension on the Greek partners at the middle, particularly the Thebans. This move kept the alliance set up, keeping them from supporting the Athenian left. It was as of now that Philip started to unwind his mind-blowing plan. He requested his right flank to gradually withdraw in reverse in a precise style. The Athenians, accepting they were winning the battle, kept on pushing forward and seek after the Macedonians across the war zone. Alexander saw his dad's withdrawal. He then arranged the Macedon community and passed on flank to gradually fall back, keeping their development as one with Philip on the right. The Greek alliance at the middle saw what was occurring and accepted that the Macedon armed force was withdrawing some portion of the alliance. Then, at that point, charged forward towards the Macedon placed meaning to go after them as they fell back presently was the second. Amidst the tumult, a youthful sovereign arose. Alexander thrusted forward, driving the Macedon cavalry. As Philip had tricked the foe far enough away from their fundamental arrangement, Alexander motioned until the end of the Macedon troopers on the left and center to go after the Theban right. Alexander's cavalry cut inside the Greek alliance's currently completely uncovered left flank. They were soon at risk for being completely unclosed. Seeing Alexander cutting across the war zone, ruler Philip then, at that point, requested his right flank to sever the weak retreat and push forward with the Macedon left in focus. Currently drew in with the foe lines. Alexander, with a strong rallying call, drove his cavalry in a loud charge that crushed into the foe flanks and back, causing sheer mayhem. The Greek partners at the middle, presently wound up encompassed, got between the iron block of the phalanx and the sledge of Alexander's cavalry. The Greek alliance in the middle disintegrated. Thousands fell on the blood-doused fields of Chaeronea. Their fantasies about stopping Macedonian strength broke. The equivalent was to be valid for the Athenians on Philip's right. Understanding that they had been obviously outsmarted, they escaped the war zone. Music. With both the Athenian left and the middle having escaped, the Theban right was the remainder of the alliance to escape. They kept on battling until Alexander charged his cavalry through their positions, breaking their determination, at last sending them withdrawing from the combat zone. The Theban sacrosanct band were the main fighters who persevered, yet ultimately they were encircled and overpowered. They were chopped down individually. The result of the clash of Chaeronea was significant. Ruler Philip II arose as the undisputed hegemon of Greece's position unchallenged. The crushed city-states had to recognize Macedonian matchless quality, denoting the start of another period in Greek history.